Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Inflow Communications Focus on the Contact Center. I want to thank you for joining today. And today's topic is an exciting topic, I believe. It's how we would use Twilio, a name that I hope you have heard before and are aware of, to enhance the customer engagement experience. So let's go ahead and dive right in today. Now, we have a full hour booked for today. I don't believe we're going to need a full hour, but by way of introduction, my name is Chris Riccio. I'm the Director of Contact Center and Advanced Applications here at Inflow Communications. Gosh, and I've been around for 25 plus years on the tech side and always associated with the contact center. I love what I do with the contact center space, and I really enjoy working with clients. And also with me today is our moderator for today's session, Luis Salceda, who is going to be the moderator taking questions. I will stop through the presentation for questions. Luis Salceda is our sales project coordinator. He has 7+ years administrative and project support experience. So if you'd like to say hi, Luis.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. I might have put you on the spot there, but thanks for joining today. I really appreciate your support here. So for those of you who may not know who Inflow Communications is, here's a brief snippet of who we are. Our sole focus is on unified communications and contact center solutions. We don't strive to be everything. We strive to be very specific experts at these two modalities. We are a ShoreTel Mitel Platinum partner, and we are also ShoreTel Mitel's Contact Center Partner of the Year. We also are a Genesis Gold partner, and we're ranked #2 in the US and #5 globally. And that's a ranking that we hold very near and dear to our hearts. We worked very hard in our ability to support Genesis and products. We're also a Twilio platform certified partner and a Twilio Flex Contact Center certified partner. Twilio is the topic of discussion for today, and if you know anything about Twilio, Twilio is expanding quite rapidly, and what Twilio used to be and where it's going is different. They've even recently, over the last year, introduced their own Twilio Contact Center platform. At Inflow Communications, we have 45 dedicated engineers, project managers, and support techs. Many of those came directly from the ShoreTel world. They have great, deep knowledge in ShoreTel and contact center specifically. We do support over 150,000 endpoints across the globe, as well as internationally. Some of our clients do have international footprints. And we do maintain offices across the US, all the way down into Honduras as well, in California, Idaho, Iowa, Nebraska, et cetera. So I'm not going to list all those. By way of introducing you to some of our clients and customers, this is a quick list of some of our clients, some of the names you probably recognize, such as Domino's, Zillow, BP, ThyssenKrupp, and others, and we're very proud to have them under our umbrella of customers that we do support. One of the things that we are flatly focused on is education, both from a product point of view as well as an industry point of view. If you go to our website, we have a very robust knowledge base full of white papers, how-to videos, and we also have a YouTube channel that we publish videos on a regular basis on how to do things that you usually won't find, and we hope to make it accessible and easy for users to work with and to educate themselves. So we believe education is the one piece that will help clients gain further accessibility into their operations and expertise. Now, we do one thing specifically as well, in addition to unified communications, that we focus on contact center. We do have a program called Contact Center Success Manager Program, and if I can bullet point this in a quick blip, this program was really evolved from my experience over 25 years in working with 2 or 3 different vendors and manufacturers. And the one common denominator that I found is that people are willing and happy to sell contact center solutions. But once the product got installed, there was really no advancement in helping the customer leverage that product to really meet their business objectives. And so our program is really geared towards helping you maximize your investment in technology. The CCSM program is really a side-by-side mentorship at whatever level of knowledge that you might need or require. It's certainly done on a client-by-client basis. We work directly with IT to educate them more on the product and its nuances, because we know that the internal contact center is the customer for IT, and our goal is to help IT become contact center experts as well as product experts in the product that's out on the floors. And we also help managers and supervisors gain experience and knowledge in terms of how to manage a contact center, how to interpret reports, and develop strategies. So that's our goal with our CCSM program. And the way I look at it is in 3 separate buckets: product knowledge, And you'll notice there on my second bullet in product knowledge is forget the manual. Oftentimes, and this has always been my experience, is that when you have a contact center solution, it's not what you find in a manual that is most helpful. It's what you learn from the day-to-day operation. Every product has nuances that are not put in a manual that usually are learned by going the hard route. Our goal is to help you get you there faster, more quickly with our knowledge and expertise and bringing that to the table. We do this through operational strategies. Once we've seen the applications and the education, we want to help develop operational strategies to help you really leverage the product and make your businesses as efficient and profitable as possible. And ultimately, we're all about supporting the customer with best practices, industry trends, industry knowledge, and just sheer plain old how-to and what our experience can offer you at the table. Our goal is to help support you on the contact center from an education point of view all the way down to product utilization. And I always call this bridging the gap. And this is the 4 pillars that we've talked about already. So let's get into today's presentation. If you have questions regarding our presentation and you'd like to follow up with me personally, there's no cost for meeting with me or having a discussion or having an email exchange. You can reach me at contact@inflowcommunications.com. Luis will help coordinate that dialogue with me and send me the contact. I'm happy to share experience at no cost. Again, I've spoken with clients from anywhere from a 15-minute conversation to 2 hours at no cost, because one of my experiences, having grown up in the technology space and contact center specifically, is there wasn't a lot of hands-on knowledge and experience sharing. Now that landscape is changing dramatically, but I always offer this. So contact@inflowcommunications.com if you have questions after our presentation. Let's get into today's agenda. So today our agenda is outlined just like this. We're going to talk about today's contact center and sort of the dilemma and the things that are changing about the contact center landscape, and more importantly, how that's having an influence on the customer engagement. We're going to start with the really very fundamental basics of Twilio. What is Twilio? Who is Twilio? Who uses Twilio? And I definitely have 5 use cases with lots of deep examples. But I wanted to just give you enough information to get your minds thinking about how Twilio might facilitate your operations, and then we'll finish up with a summary and Q&A. So with that being said, if you have questions, raise your hand on the right hand side of your panel there. There is an option to pose questions and raise your hand. I will stop periodically to see if we have any questions. And let's get right into today's topic. Today's contact center and the changing customer dynamics. I think everyone has heard the term CX. I love how over 5 years to a decade, there's a new set of terminology that people just attach to. CX is the shortened terminology for customer experience, and it seems to have become the buzzword of the day, and now everyone seems to be talking CX. Everyone is fixated and focused on the customer experience, and I have to say, I think that's where the focus needs to be. Early on in contact center, it was always about numbers and digits and following up and staff. But the actual rightful place for contact center, in my opinion, is really focusing on the customer experience. And the customer experience in the contact center is only a fraction of what we can look at. The whole driving point, as you already know, behind really associating and addressing the customer experience is to keep your customers happy and create brand loyalty. All of that equates to the longer you keep customers, the happier they are, your brand perceptions are shared amongst customers, and hopefully you're winning more customers and your revenue is consistent. But I think we all know this. I'm going to give you some examples of my personal experiences recently that will help tie all this together. And when it comes to customer experience, everyone usually falls right onto the contact center. And we've all been there with the traditional contact centers and the ACD. And we all know that the contact centers has always been about managing customer inquiries, customer interactions, intelligently routing or distributing those interactions to appropriate folks that have the skills and knowledge to handle the interactions and also expertise. And ultimately, it's about assisting customers with products and services. What is really changing this whole dynamic is that customer experience by itself is redefining what it means to broaden your customer engagement strategies. Technology has given customers, and I include myself in that, ultimate control and ultimately convenience. I know the number one thing I look for in any sort of interaction and support mechanism is the convenience factor. How easy is it for me to get assistance and maneuver through my relationship with any chosen provider? And because convenience has changed dramatically with the emergence of cell phones and texting and just digital transformation in general, convenience is absolutely defining what it means to provide customer engagement options to your clients. The traditional contact center only addresses one aspect of that experience. For customer engagement in the contact center, the fight for customer loyalty, I don't think I've ever seen it as strong as it is lately. And largely, it's gone from a reactive experience, waiting for the customer to reach out, to a proactive experience, where we're now seeing businesses proactively reaching out to clients, getting ahead of the customer needs, wants, and desires. And I can, from my personal experience, I travel quite a bit for work, off and on. One of the things that I do without fail is I look to rent a vehicle, especially if I'm going to be on site for a couple of days or a week. Now, it used to be I'd go to a rental counter, request a vehicle, or maybe I made a reservation ahead of time, but I still went to the rental counter. I specifically made a strategic decision to go to Avis for one reason only. I no longer had to go to the counter, and I actually presented myself to the marquee, which already had my vehicle in a clearly marked space. All I had to do was get to the terminal, go to the appropriate floor for that rental agency, and jump in my car. Even today, that has changed. No longer is that the MO of the day. I recently went to Portland on a trip, and this has become commonplace. When I go to the counter, I pick up my vehicle, somebody from the counter offers me a bottle of water and then escorts me to the next level, where I'm passed off to a representative on the floor of vehicles, and doesn't just take me to one vehicle, takes me to a group of vehicles that fit sort of the models that I'm looking for and allow me to choose. The direct interaction has completely transformed how and who I actually go to, because that's a much better experience as well. And I think most organizations that provide products and services are developing contact strategies that are meant to enhance the customer engagement and ultimately customer retention. Now, we all know the primary goals of sort of this activity and the adherence to customer experience and being hyper aware of is the customer experience is to retain existing customers. Also, to improve customer experience perceptions. Everything is about perceptions, and if I perceive that I have a better experience, I'm going to that provider, which is, I still use Avis, but I'm actually starting to use Enterprise more because I get that nice warm handoff and friendly greeting. I actually feel more important there, quite honestly. And also, the primary goal is to keep the customer informed. We're going to see this in action when we talk about how Twilio is being leveraged to keep information ready and available for customers, and ultimately it keeps the customer sticky. I would not have stuck with Avis for so long if I didn't have that option just to go directly to the marquee and find my vehicle. Now, the things that are driving and forcing us to reimagine the customer engagement, as you already know, comes down to customer convenience, as I've already stated. Digital communication is everywhere and pervasive, and texting is commonplace. I would say that texting is the #1 driver. And it's not necessarily just texting, but having access to information in my pocket readily available is completely transforming what I expect from a service provider and just from a sheer communication and relationship management point of view. Here's some influencing technology and customer preferences data, and I have plenty more to share with you just to sort of make the point here. Hopefully this is information you haven't seen before and that it's fresh information to give you a new perspective. Over 90% of consumers today have a cell phone. Everyone has an Android or an iPhone or a Samsung, but everyone has a smartphone these days. Consumers 44 years of age and under, that number jumps to 97%. So that's the millennials. That changes. That's sort of like the juicy core customer between 18 and 34. 51% of consumers want a 24-hour operation. Now, if I were to talk about my personal experience, it's not so much that I want a 24-hour operation, but I want access to data 24 hours. Whether or not that involves having staff is one thing, but as long as I have access to data. So that's how I translate that. 42% of consumers prefer texting over web chat and over waiting in queue. Just some good information there. Let's talk about usage and utilization. I think this is the real stuff that I was focused on when I found these statistics. I've been doing some research on statistics and where the industry is migrating to, and what I found is 89% of people always have their smartphone easily accessible. That's the key point. It's in their pocket, it's right there. And if you've ever been to lunch with anybody or out in a park or whatever, as soon as you hear that text ringtone, everyone reaches for their phone. It's sort of funny. Having spent time in airports, I see it all the time. 97% of Americans text at least once a day. Texting is the #1 most used communication for users less than 50 years old. My parents actually use texting more than calling now as well, and they're in their 80s, which I think is awesome. 82% of consumers keep SMS notifications turned on. Now, I use notifications because I like to know what's happening with my accounts and my services at all times, and it's just a convenience factor for me. I actually don't feel it's a nuisance to receive multiple text communications. I would rather have the communication than not. And 68% of consumers text more than they talk. Now let's talk about response rates. I think this is a critical piece when we're talking about customer engagement, especially when we're talking about proactive outreach. 82% of text messages are read within 5 minutes. That's a pretty high number. Now, here's the next two metrics I think are really telling, and I am guilty of these. 3 out of 4 calls go unanswered or are ignored on purpose. Now, when I get a phone call, the first thing I look at is caller ID and the location it's coming from. If I do not recognize the number or the location, I do not answer the call. I think I'm just represent the average individual, and 1 in 4 emails is opened. That means 3 of them go unopened because everyone's glancing in an email title to decide whether it's just marketing or something they'd rather not waste their time with. And so I thought these response rates were critical when you start mapping out your strategies for extending customer engagement. Let's look at customer preferences, and rather than hit you one by one, I just threw these all out there. The key ones I see here is bullet 2. 47% of consumers prefer native SMS to message businesses. In other words, I would rather text a business than make a phone call. 58% of users view businesses that offer texting more positively. That was certainly my experience recently. I have a Nest thermostat, and I just bought a new HVAC, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I didn't want to get on a call. I actually texted them, and they were able to help me. 50% of consumers opted in for SMS to receive personal alerts. Guilty. I do that all the time. I want personal alerts about something that's happening with my accounts, whether it's finances, whether it's my dental appointments, etc. 55% of consumers prefer SMS for appointment reminders, over 35 who get email notifications. And lastly, 51% of consumers prefer SMS for prescription refills. I don't know, honestly, I don't know how many people are doing SMS for prescription refills, but I certainly prefer going through an IVR process than having to call somebody and talk to a pharmacist. I think the facts speak for themselves. Our customer engagement options must evolve if we're to keep ahead of the customer, because the customer has an infinite number and variety of options. And I've said this when I first came to Inflow Communications: if you're not taking care of the customer, somebody else will. And that's sort of the threat out there. Not a bad threat, but just it's good information to work from so that you don't lose sight of the customer experience. And the evolution is forcing us to have to seek other alternatives and options for expanding our customer engagement. Now, Twilio is an exciting platform. It's been around for a while, and they are the major disruptor in the industry. They're the granddaddy of platforms like this. So let's talk about how clients are using Twilio, but let's start out with a fundamental understanding of what is Twilio. And I'll stop here. Luis, do we have any questions based on the previous information? I'm gathering no, because nothing technical, but I'll refer to you.
No, not yet, Chris. Not yet.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So what is Twilio? Twilio is a cloud communications platform. It's really, Twilio came to fruition because of the needs of where digital technology was going. Everything was going to an online platform, and in the context of a contact center, you have many different applications that do many different things. There was a need to unify the experience and to extend the experience that met the demand of the consumers. So Twilio in itself is a platform that was developed to allow developers to programmatically make and receive phone calls, send and receive text messages, and perform other communication functions using web services APIs. Now, Twilio started originally as a developer platform, but it has migrated and is becoming more extended. And they've done some really great things, even with the developer platform, to make it more of a drag and drop WYSIWYG. Some facts about Twilio. Founded in 2008, headquartered in San Francisco, and they do $650 million in revenue. And I recently went to a Twilio trade show a couple of weeks ago, where they're headed. It's pretty interesting. I think they're going to surprise folks because their look in the contact center space isn't the traditional view, nor would I expect it. But I would say keep an eye on Twilio in terms of what they're doing. Now, who uses Twilio? Chances are you probably use services that you did not know use Twilio as their backbone. Uber, big customer. They use Twilio to help navigate users, request users, etc. But they also use Twilio to allow the driver to talk to the customer in a transparent or in an alias fashion, meaning I'd never want to have the customer expose their cell phone to the driver and vice versa. So Twilio is used on the back end and does many things for Uber. Likewise for Lyft, they absolutely do the same thing. Nordstrom uses Twilio to offer concierge services. So if you're a client who needs to speak with a sales associate to have a custom suit built, you don't have to go into the store. You can communicate with your sales associate who can help navigate the conversation. Again, it's about keeping the customer directly connected to Nordstrom, providing concierge specialty services without divulging the personal cell phones of either participant. So they're using it in a different way. Airbnb, the same thing, because you have guests working with owners of properties. I use VRBO. Hulu does it as well. Dell uses it, and Salesforce uses it. So Twilio is out there in the marketplace. You may or may not be aware that Twilio is driving many of the features of some of these applications. Let's talk about Twilio basics. So when I talk about Twilio, what I tell folks is that Twilio provides an open API. An open API allows clients to create solutions with applications they already own or have that allow them to extend the communication, either in placing calls, sending texts, virtually any communication desired to help expand customer engagement options. To give you a fundamental view here, your application or any application can speak to Twilio. Twilio can then be given instructions to place phone calls, send an email, send out text. That's the real basic fundamentals. Now, you can also have a call come directly into Twilio and then interact with your application. I just wanted to lay the groundwork of how and where Twilio can fit in that model. The real need that I've come across with clients is clients have special needs and requirements. They already have applications, they're just trying to fill some gaps. Now, that's not to say Twilio is a gap filler, it most certainly is. Twilio can be expanded to provide full, robust applications such as Uber and more who live and breathe on the app itself. Let's look at Twilio, what it looks like from initiating an outbound call to connect two parties. So in the center here, you have your app, which could connect to Twilio. Twilio can gather some information and do a data exchange, and then Twilio uses a language which is like an XML language. It's an XML language that Twilio has, and it can send instructions to place calls, etc. So this is kind of a real simple view and connect two parties together, and that's what you're seeing here. You can also use Twilio just to do a simple call forwarding. Here's where I find Twilio fits for certain markets and certain industries. Not every industry, especially smaller industries, can afford to buy very robust applications, et cetera. But Twilio can be used to give that organization an enterprise level face while doing some very simple tasks such as forwarding calls. A great example is we have a small mobile home park facility out in North Carolina that has basically one phone number. The issue with the phone number is that we wanted to have the individuals who are looking for residences the ability to reach an enterprise office. So what we did with Twilio is we had the number pointed to an application on the backside that will intercept the call and parse it out to individuals. If the individuals didn't answer the call, the voicemail gets taken, and then that's parsed out and sent to email and texting to all managers of the facility. So it's another way to kind of sort of expand that, but in its very simplistic format, you can use Twilio just to forward a call. Another application that is currently being used is that if you're in the real estate business, you have brokers that usually employ many real estate agents either around the county or country that they support. In those cases, they want those individuals not to use their personal cell phones. They want to have a Twilio-bound number that rings a cell phone. One, it protects the integrity of the agent so you don't have a direct cell phone, but it also protects the integrity of the broker who may be paying for the marketing and the numbers. If that agent were to leave the company, that Twilio phone number still stays with the broker. Here, this is a simple application to receive and respond texts, and we always think about text messaging as a two-way. Sometimes it's just a one-way outbound message, and we'll talk about that in a moment when I give you some use case examples. But again here, the application, Twilio, is driving the text. You can also have your application, whether it's a CRM, an EMR, medical records application, or some order processing application to affect a communication via text. And this is all about notification to clients. So how are customers using Twilio? Obviously, there's a real simple answer here, and these are intended to be very high level. The examples here are meant to give you some thought processes to think about your own personal environments to see where you could plug Twilio in. What's very common these days in healthcare and medical and dental specifically, I guess that's a broad stroke there, is that the EMR application or wherever the appointment application is speaking to Twilio. Twilio could be extracting information or vice versa. The application could send appointments, let's say in a 24-hour window or 48-hour window, to initiate a couple of different types of communication. Now, I put text and calls here. I will say most people are not intercepting calls. Text messages are getting the higher, what I call the take rate. Phone calls are starting to fall lower and lower on the scale because people just want to get the information. Now, what's interesting about point reminders, typically you get a quick response as you have an appointment set for XYZ day, press Y to confirm the appointment, press N to reschedule the appointment, in which case in some options will allow the user to go directly back into the contact center, creating a closed loop for that experience, and then rescheduling. Other clients will allow the user to reschedule just through the app itself. So it's really about how far do you want to extend the application that you want to bring together in this sort of scenario. Now, appointment reminders can be anything. It can be document signing for real estate. It can be healthcare. Dental is the easy example. It could be someone showing up for a variety of reasons, but this is a fundamental basic application. Marketing. Now, you probably have been the recipient of marketing information from Twilio unbeknownst to you. Let's talk about marketing in sort of Salesforce and HubSpot, which there are integrations through Twilio. And connecting these applications allows users to do it in several ways. You might have opportunities from a point of view of trying to win new clients, but you also could have marketing that would do either drip campaigns, notification, or if you're already an existing company, a customer with a company, marketing might extend to, hey, you've qualified for this offer or that offer, or those sorts of things. When I look at this sort of perspective here, it's really about engaging the customer in a way that allows you to offer more services, upsell services, re-engage clients that have been lost, or when you think about support and renewal services, reminding clients ahead of time about that renewal process. So that's one aspect where Twilio is being used. Now, this is where I fall under the bucket. I'm a heavy user of services that have notifications that just give me an update on my process at every step of the way. I appreciate the information. The service industry is using Twilio for many different ways, and here's my specific example. I recently purchased an HVAC system, and when we signed the documents, I got a text message that says, thank you for being a customer. Here's your signed documents, which I thought was great because I didn't have to go follow and chase documents. They were served up to me. When it came to the installation, I got a notification to say your installation date is set for XYZ, and a representative will call you the day of to coordinate that further. So what happens there is that I get notifications almost virtually at every step of the process. So the way my scenario went was I got notified of the sale. I also got notified that someone will reach out to me on the specific date. At 8 a.m. in the morning, the actual service desk dispatch receptionist called me and told me the name of the individuals that will be showing up. En route to my home, the individuals texted me saying, we're 30 minutes away, we're coming from this destination, just to give me an ETA. All of that, for me, is a game changer, because I don't feel like I'm having to manage that experience or follow or chase the vendor. They're interested in keeping me close to their hips, as it were. Now, I did have some follow-up service inquiries with them, and the same process happened. And when I was done with my service and the installation, they sent me a friendly thank you and also sent me a link to send and give them a Yelp review and a Google review. So this is where I fall into under the bucket of notifications. I'm the guy who will always sign up for notifications. Now let's talk about sales and services. Now I'm using a global example here with Amazon. Amazon typically notifies me via email, but other service providers are now starting to notify via text that your order is in process, your order has been delivered. If you have problems with your order, here's our number to contact us. So this is another way that you can utilize Twilio to keep your customer informed as to their step in the process and what is happening. Now, financial institutions have also jumped onto this. Let's just close the loop here and I'll tell you my story. I have been with US Bank for several years, but it wasn't a heavily used account. I was with another credit union. I decided to move my primary account and really aggressively use my US Bank account. Now with US Bank, I also downloaded their app. Now I have the app for the credit union, but it's pretty much just an app to access my account. However, with US Bank, I downloaded the app, and then I started getting notifications when charges hit my credit card, when payments hit my credit card, when there were pending activity, and if there was some sort of suspicious activity, especially if I'm out of the state, they'll send me an alert to confirm that that was me. So this for myself is very comforting because I get every nuance about activities on my account. I get fraud alerts, or they at least inquire as to, we notice a transaction in New York that's out of your area that you typically see activity. All these things help me. I also have this even deeper with my credit ratings such as Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. I also get alerts. So this is another way that consumers are looking for information. I certainly use it. For me, it's just peace of mind. It's comforting to know that I'm getting a play-by-play update on what's happening with my bank account and my credit card accounts, and more importantly, my credit rating. So Twilio can connect to any application. Hopefully the examples you've seen are just the tip of the iceberg, or gives you certainly enough to think about how you can interweave Twilio into your environment. We've integrated Twilio in several different environments here at Inflow for our customers to meet their specific needs, oftentimes saving them the effort of having to buy new robust contact center solutions, when in fact what they're looking to do is advance their customer engagement strategy. So having this open forum to really build what you need for your specific use case really gives us a playground to envision what can we build. So my question to you is, seeing the examples here, understanding sort of the groundwork of Twilio, what will you build in your organization? We're happy to assist in brainstorming and in pulling the fundamental pieces for you in Twilio. I think Twilio is an exciting technology. Now, there are copycat technologies out there that are starting to realize that this is where the industry is going. And even if it's not attached directly to the contact center as a contact center solution, it certainly is part of the contact center experience and customer engagement. So let's get to our summary and finish off a Q&A, and we're about 35 minutes in the hour, and I knew I would give you some time back in your day. By way of summary, the contact center is only one aspect of the customer experience. As everyone is driving to the customer experience, it's really causing them to rethink their customer engagement strategy. The force behind the need for customer engagement options is the overall customer experience. Clients are looking, and businesses are looking at not only the experience of directly working with customers in a contact center, what I call the four walls of the ACD, but what other additional services and engagement opportunities can you provide to help further augment the total customer experience? In my opinion, the contact center is only a fraction of the slant in that experience. Also, in my opinion, everyone in the organization who intercepts any phone call, even a receptionist, is part of that engagement experience. And I think it's to your advantage to look at a broader perspective to see where customer engagement expands across your business. I think it expands across the business in many ways. I think you'll find lots of opportunity to interweave customer engagement and strategy, and that Twilio may be able to help you get there. And with Twilio's open API, you can really create any customer engagement experience you wish. That being said, I'll end right here with questions and answers, if there are any pending questions. Luis?
No, not yet. Not viewing anything till the moment.
All right, great. Well, I realize this was a fast, quick, and run through. Hopefully the statistical information helped you sort of get a perspective. I certainly associate with the usage and my needs for getting certain information, and I just wanted to end by saying thank you for joining us today. I realize that taking time out of your contact center operations is asking quite a bit, and we certainly appreciate your time and attention this morning, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks so much.